All right, good morning, KOTA Territory. Welcome to your KOTA Now desk. We are here waiting for the meeting to start where South Dakota Attorney General Marty Jackley will be talking about the opioid issue here in the state. A little backstory kind of regarding the opioid issue here in the state, though. I got some stats for you from the South Dakota Department of Health as well from Let's Be Clear, South Dakota. So over the first half of 2024 last year, South Dakota kind of experienced 16 opioid overdose deaths, including 12 from fentanyl. While the nation is struggling with this issue, as it's not just a South Dakota issue. The rates per state vary, and especially here in South Dakota, they saw kind of a increase to that as well. So when we're looking at these stats that were again provided by the Department of Health, in 2023 there were 95 drug overdose deaths here in the state itself, primarily a lot of those being young American Indian or Native American males, and it's really a big issue to bring it up, and there's been a lot of support for some of the programs that have been made available from Attorney General Marty Jackley, or have been trying to push for, at least from the current rodent administration here in South Dakota. But starting off a little bit regarding some of these programs, prevention, at least here in South Dakota, might look like the opioid overdose education and naloxone distribution, or OEND, recently started. And really quickly, as I'm looking at the timer, we have about 16 seconds before they go live, and whenever they do end up going live, we'll take it right away. But some of these other sources that have kind of come about have been made available for people in order to kind of prevent or curb downward these trend that has been seen here in the state. Along with the naloxone distribution access, we have a wonderful story on our website, and actually, let me start yapping here and actually get to the meeting as they have just started. Alrighty, we'll be taking it directly from the City of Sioux Falls YouTube page here. Here
Whether
we
it be
go.
the death of a prison guard, a no-body homicide, truckloads of meth and fentanyl, and overdoses. But today is my opportunity. I have 16 months left as your Attorney General to do something positive and bold that'll make a difference. When I look at addiction, it's a tragedy today, not something that can wait till tomorrow. So today we're announcing an initiative that I support as Attorney General wholeheartedly to address addiction throughout South Dakota with the emphasis in Sioux Falls and Rapid City. As your Attorney General, I have brought litigation against major opioid manufacturers and distributors for the public health crisis that have been a result of some of their conduct. Throughout that litigation, we've been able to obtain commitments of over $79 million. At this point, about $31.5 million has been recovered. I would like to see those dollars be put to use now. There's a process that does that. There's a committee that the legislature has formed. It's a committee of about 22 that will first take a look at this. And then ultimately, I am so committed that I will seek assistance from the legislature to make sure this happens. This is a significant opportunity. The reason it's Sioux Falls and Rapid City is because we're in the major hubs that can affect all of West River and East River. And from a reality, there are things that the state is doing with respect to the men's prison here in Sioux Falls, with respect to the women's prison in Rapid City, that will put a strain and a need on additional resources. And that's this opportunity. What's important to me as Attorney General is this not be tied directly to the prison conversation. And the reason is simple. I don't want to have to convict an addict of a felony before we can get them assistance. I think this presents that opportunity for us to be able to get ahead of the problem, to address the crisis. I have the full faith in both of our mayors to help shepherd this through. I believe my responsibility as Attorney General is to continue to bring in the funds. We're not done at $79 million. There will be more funds that become available, but to ensure that those dollars come in and they get put to the best use we can in South Dakota to address addiction. And that's really where the mayors come in. They have the ability, they know their communities, they know this state, they have the ability and the infrastructure to put these dollars to use now. You may hear conversations from the committee about the use of an endowment, to put these dollars in an endowment. I don't support that as Attorney General for two main reasons. Number one, under the settlement proceeds that the Attorney General's office has been able to get, the $79 million, if we put that in an endowment, we lose 15%, and we don't put those dollars to use immediately. And I think for those reasons, it's time that we move forward as a state, and this is the best opportunity, again, to address a crisis that is occurring today and to not wait till tomorrow. And with that, it's my honor and privilege to turn it over to Mayor Tenhaken to talk a little more specifics about his envision of how to put these dollars to work. Mayor?
All right, thanks, Attorney General Jackley. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank my counterpart in Rapid, Mayor Solomon, for being here today as well. We don't get together very often, but this is an important enough issue that I invited him here to be with us today as well. You know, Attorney General Jackley, I want to thank you. He has been such a great supporter of all things public safety during his time as AG. During both times as AG, during my time as mayor. And I appreciate the urgency around this issue because it's an urgent topic. And we're excited to talk about how we can grow and expand the existing services that we have here in Sioux Falls, even before we talk about anything new. So obviously, as you can see on this board in front of me, we're talking about some significant dollars as part of these settlements. And we have some great programs and services that already exist in our community. So I want to really stress that we have existing programs that we can pour gas on to continue to grow the treatment options and the services that are available to those who are suffering from addiction. You know, examples being one of our partners in this work is Avera. Avera Health does some incredible work with addiction treatment and opioid treatment services. And I was just chatting with them yesterday, and they said to me, Paul, one example we have is we have a growing need with adolescent addiction treatment. We have 8 adolescent addiction treatment beds. And the day we opened that place, it's been full, and we've had a waiting list ever since it's been open. And so the need there is great. We talk about the place next door that we can see right behind us here, the Link. Since we opened that 4 years ago, we've seen 1,500 triages at the Link. It's a no wrong door triage center for those suffering from addiction. The majority of those that we've served there are Native American males between the ages of 30 and 59 suffering from addiction issues. And it takes several $1 million every year from the city and the county and our healthcare systems to run the Link. And so dollars are needed with the topic of addiction to ensure that we're providing people the help that they need. And so our goal has always been to increase the level of services and provide more wraparound services. But we also have, directly tied to these settlement dollars, we have an opioid response program over here at the Link, which includes treatment, education. We have recovery case management. So we're ready. These settlement dollars are a result of people that are suffering from opioid addiction. And the manufacturer is recognizing that. And so we're ready to put these dollars into action at places like the Link. One topic that we've been talking about a lot over the last several months, and really the last several years, is homelessness here in Sioux Falls. Just last night, we passed an ordinance that will seek to crack down on encampments in our community. And one of the arguments I heard is, well, that doesn't solve homelessness. Well, we know that doesn't solve homelessness. But what is the root cause of a lot of homelessness is addiction. And so we need dollars like this to beef up addiction programs so that we don't have encampments, right? So that we can get to the root causes of homelessness and identifying those root causes. And so these settlement dollars are a huge part of beefing up existing addiction treatment programs. At the Link, over 66% of those we served in 2024 were experiencing homelessness. So you can see the tie, right there between the people experiencing addiction issues and homelessness. There's a direct link there between those. That's an increase from about 41% in 2022. So in 2022, everyone we saw there, about 41% were experiencing homelessness. This last year, about 66% were experiencing homelessness. So you can see the increase in the people who are struggling with addiction and experiencing homelessness at the same time. But the third thing that's going to be important with this is working with the community, not just in Sioux Falls, but really all of East River, to determine where are the gaps in our community right now? Where are the gaps all around this region where we need to provide better services? Where can we partner with different service partners in and around the counties that serve, all of the East River region? Could be funding to support transportation for individuals to treatment, or employees dedicated to on-site substance abuse disorder treatment, emergency shelter options, things like that. So ultimately, these conversations will have to be had. So there's work that's going to have to be done, but the first step is having the confidence of knowing that there's funding available to start utilizing these funds to provide services. So again, I just really appreciate the Attorney General's leadership on this, realizing that we have the dollars. They aren't helping anyone sitting in a fund. We got to get them into play, and we got to get them into service. And I know Mayor Solomon's going to talk here about a lot of the same things as the two major population hubs in the state. In fact, over half of the state's population lives in our two MSAs. And so we deal with a lot of the challenges of addiction in our two communities. And so I really appreciate the AG's leadership on recognizing that and wanting to put these funds into play. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mayor Jason Solomon in Rapid, to talk a little bit more about how this will benefit their community.
Well, good morning. I want to echo Paul's statements and giving my appreciation to Attorney General Marty Jackley. Several months ago, Marty and I had a great visit talking about public safety and all things in our community. And we started talking about what drives a lot of the public safety challenges that we have, and that is addiction, that is substance abuse. And from that conversation, it continued on across the state with my colleague, Paul Tenhaken, and Marty has really been the one driving this, saying, we have all this opioid settlement dollars, and we really need to make an impact with it. And I think we could use it now to really drive change in our state and in our local communities. And so we started talking about what that might look like. And in Rapid City, it's a big deal. Talking to our police chief, our sheriff in Pennington County, we know that much of our crime is driven due to substance abuse. That whatever it is, whether it's theft, assaults, you name it, a lot of it can be tied to drugs and alcohol abuse. And so what are we going to do about that? And we know that with public safety, you got to have focus on three big things: prevention, treatment, and accountability. And that's important. And with substance abuse, what we know is it's tying up a lot of resources, not just with our law enforcement, but we also invest a lot with the city-county partnership and the CARE campus in Pennington County. For about $2.5–3 million a year, we operate that to help people in need. It offers safe bed solutions, it offers detox, as well as short-term and long-term treatment and rehabilitation. It also has a partnership with an organization called Pivot Point that deals with mental health treatment, that sometimes they're related. And they also work with a lot of nonprofit partners in our healthcare industry in our community to try to help folks in need. Here's the problem with addiction and substance abuse. It's not just a public safety issue. It is robbing people of who we love. So many of us know people who battle with addiction, whatever it may be. And we know it destroys lives. It is the true enemy. It is actually the thing we have to go upstream on, not just for public safety, but for the sake of young people and people who are really struggling for many years. And to have effective treatment options that work in our communities will pay a big dividend down the road. We are very fortunate to have these settlement dollars that Attorney General Jackley fought so hard for. And rather than just let them kind of sit there or throw a little bit out here and there, why don't we actually look to make a big impact? And that's what we're talking about here today. Instead of skipping rocks at the problem, what if we dropped a giant boulder on it and actually made an impact? What would be the repercussions of that? We know these are funds that are not going to impact the taxpayers because these are settlement funds. That's a big deal. In fact, it'll help alleviate our budgets with some of the functions that we already have. You know, the reason we are having this conversation is because we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We are looking to see what we currently have and how we can make it better. And so in Rapid City, I can tell you the CARE campus does a significant amount of good. We also have a program called the Mobile Medic run through our fire department, and we actually literally have paramedics, people who are on the streets trying to get people in need, because we know it ties up a lot of resources with our hospitals and our healthcare providers, and we try to help out that way as well, rather than sending an ambulance out every time somebody needs something. And that's been a significant program for us as well. With these dollars, though, that would not only allow us to do what we're doing, but allows us to partner with local agencies and say, what can we do to make it even better? What kind of impact could we have? If we could save the lives of adolescents, to the mayor's point earlier, that is huge. If we can stop kids from even going down that road in the first place, that would be significant. If we can help people get treatment so they are not repeat offenders, what kind of impact could that have on our jails and prisons? This is really an upstream issue. Now, we know addiction, there's a lot of reason people get into that. It could be trauma, could be other issues, and those are deep. But for us to get serious about battling addiction and substance abuse with effective treatment, looking at what works around the country, what can we do in our communities, will have a big payoff for us in the end. If we don't, we'll continue to get what we got, and that is a growing issue that will only cause more pain and suffering down the road, because what we're dealing with right now is a symptom of a much greater issue. And that's the fact, is I know in my life, I have family members who have struggled with addiction. I have his permission to talk about it. I've got a brother in Texas right now in prison due to methamphetamine. I've seen what it impacts on families. It takes someone and makes them do things that they shouldn't do. And while I'm grateful that he's getting the help that he needs and he's turning his life around, I wish he didn't have to go that way. But I'm not the only one. So no matter your walk of life, no matter your situation, it's really about the human toll. It's about us giving a damn about people in their struggles. And not only that, if we do, we actually can make a significant impact on many of the other challenges that we see. And in our community, we also have had issues with homelessness and folks who are struggling, and we don't want them to live on the streets, so we constantly battle that. But I will tell you, for those who want help in our community and you're struggling with homelessness, there's great help available to you. And there are many people taking advantage of that through our homeless shelter, through our partner agencies, and those sorts of things. But for a significant part of the population, what drives them is really their addiction. That is the king in their life. That is the number one thing in their life. And so we don't really have the homeless issue as much as we have an addiction issue. We also got to get them help as well. And obviously, sometimes you got to hit rock bottom. A lot of these folks are, and we got to make sure that we have opportunity for them to level up in their lives for their sake, for the sake of their loved ones, and for the sake of our communities and state. So we look forward to partnering with, of course, our local community and the state as well. I really ask the state to unleash these funds. Don't nickel and dime the significant opportunity that we have to make an impact. Instead, let's go all in, let's go big, let's have a bold vision rather than a weak one and actually make a difference. And so I'm happy and proud to stand up here with these gentlemen who want to do good work in our state and our communities, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share our story and our hope and our vision for this great state and our local communities that we serve. Thank you.
I just have a question on sort of what's next with these funds. You've got this pool of funds. How can Sioux Falls tap into that? How can Rapid tap into that? Does the legislature have to approve it? How does the money get where it needs to go?
Great question. And let me start out by, you can tell from listening to Paul and Jason the passion that they have for the citizens and to make a difference. And for me, being the representative of the state, that means all the difference in the world. When it comes to the funds, normally, when the Attorney General brings litigation, the Attorney General controls where those dollars go. There's only mainly two instances when that has not occurred. One is tobacco. That happened years ago, significant amount of money, brings in between $20 or $24 million a year. Governor Janklow and his team years back decided to securitize that. And so that is a process. When you touch those funds, it takes legislative and governor approval. The other instance is what we're here for today. There was a determination, not while I was Attorney General, but that there was a statute put in place that put together a committee. The committee is made up of 22. I have a member of the committee in my Attorney General team. So the way I envision this is we will go to the committee with this plan, with the desire to have all of these dollars unleashed. As I said before, my perspective is the state shouldn't do this. We have two mayors that are passionate about the issue. They know their cities, they know our state, they know their programs, and they know where their programs need some help. If the committee does it, they can move forward with it. I have begun the conversations with members of the legislature that I'm passionate enough about this that I'm in a position where I'm respective of the committee process, I'm respective of the legislature, but as Attorney General, my team moved forward on this. I had previously asked, when I was Attorney General, for support in bringing this litigation. I asked for FTEs and resources. I was told that there were other issues in the state that took priority over it, but my team moved forward. And I credit that team. They worked tirelessly. They've done this. I meet with them routinely, and so they've been able to secure these funds. And so I think the Attorney General has a place in working with the committee, in working with the legislature, and this is a good plan. This makes perfect sense for our citizens. It makes perfect sense for our state, but ultimately it would be that committee of 22, and then ultimately the legislature, which I would be seeking authority to have those funds dispersed to Sioux Falls and Rapid City. And again, they're in the best position to do this, not the state of South Dakota. Yes?
We've been talking a little bit about addiction and how much of an issue that is, but of course, overdoses, whether they lead to a fatal overdose or not, remains to be a problem in the state and nationwide. So how do you, for whoever wants to answer, how do y'all envision that this money can be used for like detection of different opioids? I know there was a committee not that long ago with Dusty Johnson, they were talking about how a lot of times fentanyl is so hard to detect. So how can this money be used for that kind of detection?
I'll let the mayor speak to that too, but from my law enforcement perspective, that's already happening. I have an opportunity with drug control funds that are obtained through the court process and the criminal proceedings from the bad actors, that we use those dollars for detection. You'll see that, and we issue releases on it. We train Highway Patrol and other drug dogs to be able to detect. When it comes to the Department of Health, they're responsible and have the ability to determine what drugs they test for and how they test for it, and the new technologies. There's a recent Supreme Court decision favorable to the state on that. And so I look at the detection side of it, a law enforcement responsibility that is being taken care of and being addressed. I look at these funds as the opportunity to get ahead of it, to not just be the enforcement side, but to address that addiction problem when a mother comes to us and says, my son's addicted. I don't want to have to convict that son of a felony to get them treatment in a prison. I want them to be able to go to Sioux Falls or Rapid City and get that treatment. We're already doing efforts on prevention. You've seen a previous press conference, and it was part of the Teva settlement, where we obtained the Narcan kits that Emily's Hope is passing out. So we're already doing that as a state. This is a new and important opportunity to get to that prevention and treatment. And with that, I'd certainly turn over to the mayors if you have some additional comments.
Well, real quick, I think by unleashing these funds, you actually allow the opportunity to get more tools for detection. But as I talked about in my statement, prevention, treatment, and accountability all have to happen. I mean, you can't have one without the other. And so I think when we're looking at, obviously in our role as mayor, and I'm sure Paul can speak to this, we enforce the law, and that's our commitment in Rapid City. We will enforce the law. But public safety starts in the heart and the home. We can't impact that, but we certainly could say that's a big part of the component, is how people are growing up. And then the other side of the equation is after we enforce the law, there's a criminal justice system. And is it working? But what I would love is to see people get the help they need before they have to enter into this whole cycle. And I think that would be the important thing, is to be able to get that up front. And so to be able to have more of those tools available to us with this funding, I think would be really important.
Attorney General, following up on Megan's question, the committee, is this done outside of the legislature? Do you have to wait for the legislative session? Quick question there. And then secondly, you were very critical, and others in law enforcement were critical of the previous president's border policy and blaming that policy for a lot of illegal drugs. We have a new policy now for the last 7 months or so. We just had the largest methamphetamine bust in state history, right? Have we seen any difference with the border policy? Have you seen any difference in terms of illegal drugs that are coming into the state?
So to answer the first question, the committee has the ability through the grant process to authorize the funds. The legislature always, through the appropriations process, has the ability to okay that authorization. My hope is that the committee makes this recommendation and authorization is obtained. If it's not, I've been very clear that this is so important to me that I will go to the legislature and ask for that authority. If I need to put it in my budget, I will do that, and then I will transfer the funds under that authority. I'm part of the executive branch, so I want to be respectful. I want to be respectful that there's a committee of very intelligent people. It's a committee of 22 that get to take a first look at this, but this makes sense, and we need to do it now. I'd rather not wait till session, but if we do, sessions begins in January, and we'll have that opportunity. With respect to the border, I mean, I've had the privilege to go with DOJ and the group of attorneys general to Yuma. I was down in Arizona. I talked directly to the border security. They have made an amazing effort by the closure of that border to stop certain shipments. I recognize that the cartels are still operating, that drugs are still coming across the border. From a law enforcement perspective, we've also seen the northern border shift, and that is where it was easy to get across the southern border. They're now utilizing that northern border, especially for fentanyl. Yes, I'm concerned. When we have 207 pounds of meth at a street value of $12 million in our state, yes, that concerns me, which is why the answer is prevention and treatment. We've got the law enforcement side of it handled. These funds need to go to that.
Go ahead, John.
Hey. So as I'm reading this, this is you staking out a claim here saying this is what the committee ought to do with these dollars. Let Jackley give it to these cities for addiction treatment, as I understand it. So I have two follow-up questions on that. Number one, have we really not spent any of this money? And number two, why would we lose 15% if we put it in an endowment to sort of drip out in drabs as you don't want to have happen?
So on the 15%, certainly, you know, I do every effort I can to make sure those dollars give us the most opportunities they can. There's been a position taken oftentimes by the other side is we're going to penalize states because this is so important. If you sit on those dollars, we're going to write in that there's a 15% penalty. They want these dollars put to use now. This chart kind of outlines the dollars that have come in. There have been some minimal amounts of funds passed out for various good reasons, but the majority of that 31.5 is sitting there. And I, as Attorney General, am pushing back hard on an endowment. I just think it's a mistake, number one, to not utilize this money now. It will help public safety, it will help public health, and it will help law enforcement if we can address these problems early. And the second part is, why would we lose 15% of $79 million when we need it now?
Just be crystal clear on this. So the loss of 15% of those dollars is written into the opioid settlement agreement, like it's a guarantee?
Several agreements, yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mayor Tenhaken, you mentioned the link. This could be, even a fraction of this could be a game changer for the link where you're struggling for funds. Is that part of your vision here?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, part of the vision would be not only to support what we're doing at the link, but expand the services we're doing at the link. We have space at the link, and I'd love to sit down with the leadership at the link, with Avera, and say, hey, if we had another $1 million to $2 million in operating capital a year, where are the biggest gaps that you're seeing with addiction in the market, even within our homeless community, that if we could do more with addiction, where would that be? And I had a call with them yesterday, and they were salivating because they said there's so many needs there that, to Marty's point, the needs are there. So let's put the dollars into the market right now because the need is great. So for sure.
And the link started as a pilot project. We're beyond that now, right? Where the link, you can't shut it down. It's part of the fabric of treatment. This would seem like a real opportunity to solidify that for the long term. Do you think this is like a turning point for that continuum of care in the city?
We're certainly past the point of saying the link was a test and we're going to shutter the doors if this thing doesn't work. We've proven that it works. We've proven that there's a lot of people who need the services that we're offering right next door. But we've also seen that there's a lot of things we need to do better and do more of. But we're just hampered by funds, quite honestly. And so this is a godsend, quite honestly, if we can put these funds to work, expand the services, and save more lives. And that's really what it comes down to. And so I'm really excited about this and really anxious. Just like Marty's got a shot clock on his time in the office, I do as well. So I'm ready to get going and put a plan in place on how we can distribute these funds effectively as soon as possible.
Any other questions?
Mayor Solomon, we often talk about gateway drugs, and I noticed that Rapid City's dealing with something that they call gas station heroin.
Yeah.
Could you expound on that?
Well, we had a city council member who actually is an addiction specialist and a medical doctor bring that forward. He had read an article and then had seen some stuff in his work that said this was a growing issue, and he wanted to nip it in the bud prior. So we did a ban, and we will encourage the state to do a ban on that too. But I'll talk about the gateway stuff. You know, it's interesting. Meth, fentanyl, those are huge. The drug of choice in our community is alcohol, by far and away. It is the drug of choice. And so I'm more looking at the more pragmatic thing. We're not looking to ban alcohol, trust me, but we're looking at, there are people who seriously struggle with alcoholism. And we're seeing that with folks who live on the streets, those sorts of issues. So while we tackle an issue like that when we see that that's a problem, or some of the cannabis products that we've had concerns with that usually get dealt with in the legislature, I think those are significant as part of that. But it also is about the message you send to young people about what's acceptable. And we want to make sure that we're protecting children, because at the end of the day, that's what's important. The other thing to keep in mind with addiction, we've seen in our community that nearly 60% of violence on law enforcement officers is because someone's on something. And a lot of this is also protecting those men and women who serve our communities. And so whether you're in law enforcement, you're a first responder, you work in paramedics, fire department, or some of our partner agencies, I think if we can get ahead of some of that, we could actually look at how we can help them as well and really pressure off what they deal with on a regular basis.
Courtney Hardy with Emily's Hope. Thank you so much for being here. We provide prevention work and K-12 education curriculum currently, along with providing resources to individuals who have survived an overdose. This is a two-parter. Is there a part that community partners and prevention organizations like us can play at the beginning when you do go to the committee? And also, how do you see the process for deciding how funds are going to be distributed to the critical organizations?
The first question was what? Is there a part you say? Yes, for sure. I think we don't know what this is going to look like yet. So what we do know is that the Attorney General is going to work hard to ensure there's funds for our communities. Once that's secured, then we have to figure out, okay, what does that look like? How do we get community partners involved? How do we get our public health partners involved? How do we get places like Avera, the Link? What does this look like, right? And so absolutely, but those will all be things that we'll hammer out down the road. So Emily's Hope has obviously been a great partner on the education side, getting the school system, trying to get on the very front end of addiction. You know, a lot of the stuff that we deal with as mayors, we're dealing with it when it's almost, I wish we could have caught it years earlier, because it's very expensive at this point, and the problem has been exacerbated that it's a big challenge. If we could have got ahead of it in the school system with education, with prevention, it's much more effective. So it's not just going to be on the treatment side. Education and prevention is certainly going to be a big part of this kind of holistic strategy.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. If you have questions, call me. Thanks very much.
All right, coming back from that meeting, there's a lot of good questions there. At least some key points that kind of stood out during that whole Q&A part was the fact that we still have $47.6 million left from for the settlement, which is really cool. Here, let me try to set that up here real quick. Okay, cool. And then right now we have only received 31.5, which again, the whole meeting throughout the process, if you guys could kind of tell there, was primarily focused on making sure that the cities are able to use this money sooner rather than later to kind of help with the prevention of any more opioid overdoses from happening in the state. And while the opioid overdose death rate in South Dakota is lower, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, is lower than many other states throughout the nation, and it's lower than the national average. I mean, we as South Dakota have been engaged and have been actively engaged in a big portion of kind of addressing this issue at the city level through various programs here in West River. As Mayor Jason Solomon pointed out, we have Pivot Point, the Care Campus, and other programs here. One with the Rapid City Fire Department that kind of helps out making sure that a lot of these homeless individuals are kind of getting this care that they need. Also, again, with the help of kind of giving those naloxone kits and being able to spread that out to kind of prevent these deaths from happening also helps out a lot. But as he mentioned, and the kind of the mission statement throughout the whole thing was kind of helping prevent these from happening before it gets to that point is the key. But with that being said, we'll have more details on kind of this meeting, a little bit more on the story later on at 5:30 today. So be sure to tune in to your newscast on ABC and Fox. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday morning. For now, I'm Humberto de Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.